Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast. This is your escape for real, unscripted conversations about sports, hobbies, life, and storytelling. No scripts, no forced takes, just Man Cave talk. Now, here's your host, Dan Casper.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Man Cave Podcast. Myself, Dan. Brandon's over there. I mean, I guess we are recording video. I was going to say people can't see you lifting up your mic, but they can if they're watching the video. But if they're listening, you can't. So, but thanks for tuning in, and whether you are listening or watching. If you haven't followed the podcast on Apple or Spotify, we would love it if you could. So please do that. Give us a 5-star rating too, and leave a nice review, because that helps spread the word of the podcast to everybody else. And don't forget to follow us on YouTube and watch the video stream of the podcast. On this episode of the podcast is a Brandon Berg special, top 5. Because with the news that Giannis is being traded to the from the Milwaukee, maybe being traded back to the Milwaukee Bucks, but traded from the Milwaukee Bucks to the Miami Heat. We are both Bucks fans. We are Wisconsin sports fans. Well, mostly. And Brandon, you thought of a top 5 heartbreaking departures?
Yeah, I would just say heartbreaking departures from our favorite teams.
Yeah. So this could be mostly trades, free agents.
Free agency, yeah.
So without further ado, shall we go through it? Because I got one honorable mention that I thought of during the pod or during the show. You've got
3.
3 of them?
3 of them.
Wow. All right. So jump right into it, dude.
All right. So my 3 honorable mentions. I am going to go first of all, I guess they're not really ranked, but Dante Culpepper being traded from the Vikings to the Dolphins. Dante Culpepper is one of my favorite Vikings of all time.
Really?
To me, he was a very fun and flawed player.
Yeah.
At his peak, his 2004 peak, he was second in the MVP. If not for Peyton Manning setting the league record for touchdowns, probably wins MVP that year. The highs were high and the lows were low, but he was someone I really liked, and it was kind of, it came on a year after they traded Randy Moss. So I just remember when that happened, just kind of being bummed. I kind of understood it, but at the same time, it was still frustrating. So, second one, Bucks trading Ray Allen.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I remember this is one.
I still remember that.
So do I.
Yeah.
And then the returners were Desmond Mason. It's just
Gary Payton. Come on.
Right. So and I'm sure that part of it was, that the return didn't matter.
Yeah.
It didn't work out at all. You're not that far removed from them being in the Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah.
I remember coming home from school that day, and one of my routines was always going to sports.yahoo.com on the dial-up computer. And that's what I did, and that's how I found out about the Bucks trade. So, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
And I was not a Bucks fan at that time, but I still remember it.
Right.
So,
and my last one, and this one's this one I thought of during the show as well. But I was really bummed when Mike Leach left Washington State to go to Mississippi State, because I just thought Mike Leach up in Pullman, Washington, as kind of the outskirts team of the Pac-12. I just thought that was such a perfect fit.
Mm-hmm.
And him going to the SEC, I understand why he did it, but it was kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
I was kind of man, that was such a good fit, coach in this kind of environment, underdog environment. He's kind of an ultimate underdog kind of coach. It was just such a good fit that I just kind of hoped he never would leave. But I understand why he did.
You honestly just inspired another one for me.
Okay.
But I think I'm going to throw him into the honorable mentions since I just thought of it. So I'll just lead off with that one. Mike Holmgren, leaving the Packers. When you said that, I was thinking coach, and I'm like, Mike Holmgren leaving the Packers and going to Seattle. Because it was Super Bowl winning coach. And I think after that too, because the story was he wanted to be a general manager. Ron Wolf wouldn't give it up, but then he gave it up a year later. So it was what are we doing here?
Right.
So I got to put, because I remember finding that out too.
Sports.yahoo.com.
No, Grandma's TV in the bedroom, in the bedroom that I stayed in. So, but yeah, I'd throw that one in there as my honorable mention. Didn't mean to jump right into it, but my other honorable mention, because I did want to try to find a Brewer one. It's very, 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 very low on the pecking order, but I'm going to say J.J. Hardy, because I was a J.J. Hardy fan. My first baseball jersey that I got was him and Braun, my now wife, we just started dating. That was her first gift to me, was a J.J. Hardy jersey, and he got traded shortly after that. So
you were sad. The ladies of Milwaukee were sad.
Yep. Getting traded to the Twins for Carlos Gomez.
Which did end up working out for the Brewers.
Yeah. Yep. JJ had a nice career at Baltimore afterwards.
He played a long time. I think people forget he was with the Orioles as long as he was. Yep. He had a good career.
Yeah. I mean, he did make an All-Star with the Brewers.
Yeah.
I think one more for Baltimore.
I think so.
But yeah, those are my two honorable mentions that I would put in there. So,
okay.
All right, number 5 for you then, Brandon.
Number 5 for me, and this is the only hockey one on this. Jaromir Jagr being traded from the Penguins to the Washington Capitals.
Nice.
Jaromir, probably my favorite hockey player of all time.
Yeah.
I'm sure somewhere maybe there's a picture of me in the 90s with a Jaromir Jagr shirt on, and just, when you're a kid and your favorite player gets traded from your favorite team, and again, another one of those where the return never really crystallized to anything of note for the Penguins.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of the beginning of a down stretch for them until they ended up landing Crosby, Malkin in the draft and stuff like that. But it was, I just remember being a kid and being bummed.
Yeah.
And it sucked.
Yeah. That's a good one. I just thought of another honorable mention really quick.
Yeah.
Charles Woodson leaving Green Bay. That one kind of bummed me out a little bit too. I remember that. So, just throwing that one there, because my number 5, I was expecting it. I was prepared for it, but it's still it was the end of an era and the end of a chapter. Aaron Rodgers leaving Green Bay, getting traded to the Jets. We all knew it was happening. We all knew it was going to happen. But it's still, and it was time for it to happen. It doesn't make it you're still a little bummed about it, because, 4-time MVP, got you a Super Bowl, there for a long time, setting records. And he was of the era where I just got into college all the way through adulthood and that. So, that's a very pivotal time frame.
Right. You look at what you were doing when he when he took over to what you were doing when he left.
Yeah. And
that's so many pinnacle years of your life.
Right. Was it time? Yep. Was I getting tired of the? Yep. But it's still, I look at it from an end of an era chapter sort of thing. So yeah, it was a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
So, all right, number 4.
Now, these next 2 I have are actually relatively recent, and the reason that there's my number 1 and 2 I'll just say are when I was younger. So I put them higher because I know I was probably more emotional about them.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I wouldn't necessarily say in one case, especially, that they were bigger than maybe some of these other ones. My number 1, it's Giannis leaving. For me,
your number 1 or
no? I'm sorry, my number 4.
Okay,
Sorry. But mostly because this was something we kind of knew was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So spoiler alert, my other ones are for teams I will admit I'm a bigger fan of than the Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
But I won't say that those are necessarily more important from the big scope of things. This is more of just my personal feelings on it. You knew it was probably going to happen. So, and maybe because it's still fresh, a year or 2 from now, maybe if there's a couple 20 and 62 years for the Bucks, it may be sting a little more. But I would just say, for right now, just being able to kind of see the journey he went on, seeing what he's been able to do for that team and also the state, and someone who loved Milwaukee.
Yeah.
He made no bones about that. He loved the area, he loved the people. It's a bummer.
Mm-hmm. My number 4 was also Giannis.
Oh.
So, a lot for what you said, but I'd also say too, I always use the phrase, if, you got a youngster or a kid and we all did it as a kid, you look up to your role models, or your athletes as role models and that. And Giannis seemed to be the perfect one for a young kid to look up to. So,
yeah.
What were you giving me that sly look for?
No, my next one, because I can make a connection with you on my next one.
All right. Go ahead.
Oh. My number 3, Craig Counsell going to the Cubs.
Oh, Okay.
And the reason I made that connection because you and I were texting about it when it was going down in real time.
That's right.
Because I remember I was at my desk and you're like, wait, Counsell's leaving? Where's he going? And then like I think I threw like Yankees or something out there. And then I think I don't even know if I remember what you said, but I just remember a text that definitely had some naughty words in it, like no bleeping way or something when we kind of figured out like, oh, we see what's happening here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and
I didn't even think of the Counsell
but
one.
like, because that was one
where,
where like, I was a fan of Counsell when he was in, through his career, but also when he was in Milwaukee. I've got a Counsell jersey, which is currently in storage. But like, I remember when I was in college going to Shields and Appleton and finding like a Craig Counsell shirtsy.
Nice.
And I just thought like, oh, this is awesome.
Yep.
So that one stung.
I didn't even think of that one, to be honest.
And that one, like, that's the only one of these where there was actually like a little viritol with it where I was just like angry. The other ones I was just kind of like bummed and sad and like, but like obviously because of where he went and just everything surrounding it. And look, ultimately we can stand here right now a couple years later and say right now it was a net positive for the Brewers, and that's more for what Pat Murphy brings than to put down Craig.
Yeah. No, I agree. I didn't even think about that one, and that's a good one. So, my third one is another coach, though. I was bummed about it. Bo Ryan. When Bo Ryan kind of left, I know it's a retirement, but kind of leaving in the middle of the season.
Right, yeah.
Shortly after.
The manner of which it happened.
Yeah, and, it was months after the national championship here, so it was kind of like all at once sort of thing.
Yes.
And, I mean, it we didn't know what Greg Gard was going to be like, and just shortly after the emotions of the 2 years prior, the Final Four, and then the national championship, it was like all of that. So yeah, when Bo announced he was done, it was like that too.
Wasn't it like December?
It was December, yeah. Shortly
after like
the
a
season
December
began.
like non-conference game that they played.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, and so it was like just that sudden and shock. I was like, oh, really? Okay. So yeah, I mean, after that, I ended up buying I've got 2 copies of his books on the shelf there. One I read in college for a report, but then I was like, I gotta get Bo Ryan autograph, so I ended up being another copy of his book. So, but I'm putting Bo Ryan. I know it's a retirement, but still,
yeah. My number 2 was probably going to be the one that people would be like, what? But I remember it. I remember my feelings about it, and I remember being very upset about it because I still didn't fully grasp everything. My number 2 is Richie Sexson getting dealt to the Diamondbacks. Because at that time, like, there's that 2 or 3 year stretch, I forget how many years he's in Milwaukee, where, like, he was a big deal, no pun intended because he's a giant human being, but,
yeah,
like, and he had really good years. I mean, he had, like, 40 home run, 100 RBI years. Like, and at a time when the team just moved into Miller Park and wasn't good, like, that was kind of like, oh, but, like, basically it was like, oh, the team's got Richie Sexson. And then, there's obviously like Jeff Jenkins kind of comes along and stuff like that. But like, he was the guy and he was my guy. Like, reason I wore number 11 in high school for baseball is Richie Sexson. And then when they dealt him, and ultimately that ended up being a really good trade for the Brewers because they got a lot of important pieces from that, including Craig Counsell.
Yeah.
But I just didn't fully, because I was in high school. So like, I didn't fully understand at the time, but it's just like, man, this is such a bummer. Like, my favorite team, who's not very good, traded like the player who's actually good, and there's still very much that mentality with Milwaukee of like at that time especially where like, oh, they just never pay anybody.
Yeah,
and it was just frustrating.
Yeah, my number 2 is Shaq. I mean, I've told this story before. Shaq was my first favorite athlete. I was a huge Orlando Magic fan because of Shaq. I had a Shaq-themed birthday party, and the next day he goes to the Lakers. So that one was probably my first ever, like, oh, your favorite player can leave.
Yeah, this
sort of thing.
Yeah, kind of your welcome to sports.
Yeah, and I was still a Shaq fan with the Lakers, but I was still an Orlando Magic fan. Penny was still there, and then I thought about putting Penny on this list too, but I kind of broke it up with the Shaq Orlando thing in there. So but Penny was still there. And then when Penny was gone, I was still a little bit of an Orlando fan because Dale Armstrong, but then I just lost interest in the NBA after that.
Yeah.
So I was still a Shaq fan when he won his championships with the Lakers, but that one was like, oh, but that's my favorite team. I was a bigger Orlando Magic fan than a Packers fan at that point.
Oh, wow.
Like
Wow.
that was my thing. Orlando Magic. Way before, I was a Packers fan, but Orlando was on top probably for me. So to see that was, especially at the young age too, or like I think I was 10, and it just, because didn't really experience that before.
Right.
So, because even think about it for Green Bay, Green Bay didn't lose anybody. They were bringing in people that during that time frame, and I wasn't the biggest Brewers fan. So.
Right. I have a feeling I know you're number one.
Okay. You probably do.
I mean, and it makes all the sense in the world. My number one, I think anyone that knows me probably knows it. Randy Moss being traded by the Vikings.
Yeah.
I mean, Randy's my favorite NFL player of all time. And that was one because on the one hand, you kind of get it where at that point, maybe they had kind of grown tired of, some of the antics of him. But at the same time, I almost feel like maybe if there was different ownership or if it was a different time in team history, maybe they keep him because that's at the time where it's near the end of the Red McCombs era. Red McCombs notoriously cheap. And that was just before they sold the team to the Wilfs, where now they've shown they're willing to spend. I feel like maybe if that's a year or two later or the Wilfs buy a year or two earlier, maybe he stays. But like I said, favorite player.
Yeah.
Just being dealt the way he was. And again, doesn't help that the return was Napoleon Harris and who ended up being Troy Williamson. Frustrating. That's why I'm even in 2010, when he came back, I was excited. Obviously that did not work out.
Right.
But that was just frustrating because that was something that didn't have to happen, in my opinion.
My number one's Favre.
Yep.
Just because March 4th, 2008, the fact that I can remember that date, I can remember almost everything about that day. And it was a retirement, but I'm lumping it all into
because if he just would have retired then I'm sure it wouldn't be there. But obviously it's the drama of the comeback.
Yep.
And that's going to the Jets where again, even if he just played with the Jets and that was it.
Yep.
It's probably not on the list.
Yep.
But
it's you got to lump it all together.
Yes, because it's just the Favre saga.
Yep. It's so that day I remember I was in college. One of my roommates, I was sleeping in because I had a later class, but he opened the door up and all he said was, Joel said, turn on the TV, and he walked out. Turn it on. It was there. Okay. Watch a little bit of it. Get dressed, walk down the stairs, getting ready for class. My other buddy Jake walks in. We don't say anything. We just hug. And I'm wearing my 5 jersey to campus. I remember a professor at that time in my biomechanics class said, Thursday, I think it was Thursday. This was a Tuesday or something. We're going to watch the press conference. We never did. Don't know why that changed. But you could see a lot of people on campus wearing the jersey. And then you flash forward to that whole summer. I was one that wanted Favre back. I was not sold on Rodgers. Then it's the Jets. I was a Jet. I bought a Favre Jets jersey. Okay, he's done. And then the whole Vikings thing. And I still remember finding out, I think that morning, he was to the Vikings. And I'm like, what? And just heartbroken and angry and mad.
I think it would be a fun podcast. Let's get Justice.
Yeah.
I think we'd have a 3-person that summer Favre retrospective because obviously you've got your view, Justice, who was there, and you have me as a Viking fan. It'd be kind of an interesting
different because he's covering it as a media person.
Yeah,
I'm from the fan perspective.
You're from the fan perspective of the Packers. I'm from the fan perspective of where he's going. And I'll be honest, I was not very happy about it at the time. I understood it, but I was one of those people where I was I spent years not liking this guy. I'm not just going to turn around and suddenly be like, oh, he's my favorite player ever now.
This summer would be 15 years. Because it would have been 09.
Well, it would have been 17.
You're right.
I was going through my head before this. I'm like, is it a nice
17.
Round number? But I guess it doesn't have to be.
No. That's what I was trying to think. It was well, 08 was the Jets. That'd be wow, me and math. You know me, so.
But yeah, we'll figure this out between the three of us. We'll just heck if he's in on some Monday, I can just come in on some Monday to just do the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be I think that would be fun to kind of timeline it through.
Right. That is a good one.
But no, that's.
And then the even from the retirement stuff. I mean I remember going to the bookstore, which is now Books A Million. I think it was Borders then. They had. I still remember the sign. Max of 2 Sports Illustrated or something like that because it was Favre on the cover and all the special edition one, and I ended up buying all of that stuff that came out, and now it's worthless.
Well, and the interesting thing too is like with the Favre stuff, like I'm a firm believer that part of the reason fans were able to move on as quick as they were was because the Packers won the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Well, it's crazy. Like they won the Super Bowl and Brett Favre was still a Viking.
Yep. That's why I always say the Packers won that trade.
Yes.
They won that decision.
Yeah, 100%. But like if say the Packers still win a Super Bowl, say they win in 2016 or 2020, like how much different was that whole like Favre reconciliation with Green Bay process? Like it's easy to move on to someone else when another person is, I'll say like, better. Like, and I've actually had this conversation with somebody very recently where we were talking about Favre and Rodgers. I'm like, Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback than Brett Favre, but Brett Favre was more important to the Green Bay Packers than Aaron Rodgers was.
That's a good analogy. Yeah, I like that. I could buy that 100%. And that's where I think a lot of people will still not, when they pick the best quarterback, they'll still pick Favre over that. But from a talent standpoint, Rodgers is better.
Yeah, like in some like Brett Favre was never boring. I would say in some ways Aaron Rodgers could be boring because he was just so damn good.
Yep.
There's not like they could both have the same stat line in a game, but they would do it in completely different ways.
Yep. Oh yeah. Exactly. The heart rate and the pressure was way higher watching a Favre game.
And when I will say this as a fan, when you were going against Favre, you knew it was like a metronome. It could be either end of the spectrum. He could have the greatest game ever. He could throw 6 interceptions in the playoff game against the Rams.
Yep.
But you just knew like, okay, it's gonna be something like.
Exactly. So there we have it.
There we have it. Yeah.
And honestly, there will be more.
There
will
will
probably be more.
Yeah, there will be.
Maybe really quick. Is there one athlete that's currently playing that you would be heartbroken if they left?
I mean, the first one that popped in my head would be Justin Jefferson.
Okay.
It would just depend on the circumstances. It's always going to be on the circumstances.
Yep.
Like,
I thought of another one. I was a little bummed when Jordy left. Jordy Nelson.
That's fair.
Donald Driver retired, and that was kind of, we saw that final year. But
right.
Honestly, Sal Frelick for me.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a Brewer for me, but like off the top of my head, maybe I'm just so ingrained at this point being a Brewer fan. I'm just like, yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess that maybe it would be a little weird for me to see like Sidney Crosby playing somewhere besides Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
But unless it went just crazy at the end, which I can't imagine it would, like it would just be like, but look at everything he did. Like I can't be mad.
Right.
Like. So there's nothing I can think of offhand. Like, and there was one that I thought of, but I don't think it fits the parameters because he didn't obviously he didn't leave on his own accord. Would be Dale Earnhardt, but that's like obviously that's a little bit different. I mean, if he would have went and drove like some other car, like I even tried to think of like some NASCAR ones, but I really couldn't. Like,
what would have been like for Dale Earnhardt Jr. leaving?
Maybe if he went DEI, but at the same time, like people understood because.
You wanted to get him a championship, right?
But like, and going to Hendrick was a big move, and then I'm sure so many people like just love that number 8 Budweiser car. But like, I also think like DEI was just such a dumpster fire at that point. Like it was for his own good to go. Like even people that like I would love to see him drive that car forever would probably be like, yeah, but you absolutely have to do it. Like you can't stay there. That team just within a few years just disintegrated.
Right.
So but I'm trying to think of like. NASCAR examples of that, but I guess it would have been probably like if Jeff Gordon ever didn't drive the 24 car.
Yeah.
So, but like, I couldn't think of any off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm. All right, there we go. That's our heartbreaks, and we'll probably have more. So
always, and forever.
All right. Again, don't forget, follow, subscribe, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, please, YouTube especially, but also please on Apple and Spotify, 5-star rating and a nice review. It takes 10 seconds. We would appreciate that. So until next time, that's Brandon, and I'm Dan, and we'll talk to you on the next episode of the Man Cave Podcast.